Hello viewers, today we will be talking about the population distribution in the developed world. George B. Cressy has made one of the very important statements about the subject of population distribution. Asia has many places where people are few and few places where people are very many. This is true about the pattern of population distribution of the world also. The people of a country are its real wealth. It is they who make use of the country's resources and decide its policies. Ultimately, a country is known by its people, and it is important to know how many women and men country has, how many children are born each year, how many people die and how, whether they sit in cities or villages, can they read or write and what work they do. The population of the world is unevenly distributed. Patterns of population distribution and density help us understand the demographic characteristics of an area. To represent these contrasts, two measures can be used: population distribution and population density. Population distribution refers to the way people are spaced over the Earth's surface, or population distribution can also be defined as the proportional distribution of population over the available land area. The second measure is the population density, which is simply the number of people per unit area, such as square kilometer or square mile. However, no country has evenly distributed population, so that the average obtained by dividing the national area by the total number of people may not have any practical meaning. For example, a population density of 77 per square kilometer is only the arithmetic population density and emphasizes the contrast between two nations A and B. These arithmetic population figures do not reflect the emptiness of most of the less populated areas like Alaska, and in other cases it can be quite misleading. So, for overcoming these lacunae, there is the concept of physiological population density. It is a superior index of population distribution and relates to the total population of a country or region to the area of cultivable land it contains. So, it is defined as the number of people per unit of agriculturally productive land. To study the population distribution, the world is divided into several regions that are as follows: Africa, which is divided into Eastern, Middle, Northern, Western and Southern Africa; Asia, which is divided into Eastern, South Central Asia, Central Asia, Southeastern Asia, Western Asia, Southern Asia; Europe, again divided into Eastern, Western, Northern, Southern regions; Latin America and Caribbean, divided into Caribbean, Central America and South America; Northern America; Oceania, divided into Australia, New Zealand, Melanesia, Micronesia and Polynesia. Since population distribution amongst the developed nation is to be understood, so these areas are further divided into developed and developing. The more developed regions will include Europe, North America, Australia, New Zealand and Japan. The less developed regions will include Africa, Asia except Japan, Latin America and Caribbean, plus Melanesia, Micronesia and Polynesia. Now, this table will show the population density for the world and major regions. For the world, it is 52, and for the more developed regions, it is 24. Japan has a very high density of 336 and Australia has a low density of 3. Now, we come up to what factors are affecting population distribution across the world. It has already been mentioned that population distribution is not the same everywhere, whether it is developed regions or developing regions. But the question is why this is so. The reason is that a number of factors determine whether a region will be densely populated or scarcely populated. Following are these factors. First, the geographical factors. Availability of water. This is one of the most important factors for life. So people prefer to live in areas where fresh water is easily available. Water is used for drinking, bathing and cooking, and also for cattle and crops, industries and navigation. Because of this reason, river valleys are amongst the most densely populated areas in the world. Landforms. People prefer living on flat plains and gentle slopes. This is because such areas are favorable for the production of crops, to build roads and industries. The mountainous and hilly areas hinder the development and hence initially do not favor agriculture and industrial development. So these areas tend to be less populated. For example, in case of India, the Himalayas are less populated. Climate. An extreme climate such as a very hot or cold desert are uncomfortable for human habitation. Areas with a comfortable climate where there is not much seasonal variation will attract more people. Areas with very heavy rainfall or extreme and harsh climates have low population. Mediterranean regions were inhabited from early periods in history due to their present climate. Soils. Fertile soils are important for agriculture and allied activities. Therefore, areas which have fertile, loamy soils have more people living on them as these can support intensive agriculture. Next, we come to economic factors. Minerals. Areas with mineral deposits, they attract industries. Mining and industrial activities generate employment. So, skilled and semi-skilled workers move to these areas and make them densely populated. Zambia copper belt in Africa is one of such good example. Urbanization. Cities offer better employment opportunities, education and medical facilities, better means of transport and communication, good civic amenities, and the attraction of city life draw people to these cities. It leads to rural to urban migration and cities grow in size. Megacities of the world continue to attract large number of migrants every year. Industrialization. Industrial belts provide job opportunities and attract large numbers of people. These include not just factory workers but also transport operators, shopkeepers, bank employees, doctors, teachers and other service providers. The Kobe Osaka region of Japan is thickly populated because of the presence of a number of industries. Social and cultural factors. Some places attract more people because they have religious or cultural significance. In the same way, people tend to move away from places where there is social and political unrest. Many a times, governments offer incentives to people to live in sparsely populated areas or move away from overcrowded places. Next, we will talk about methods to study the population distribution. There are two methods to study the population distribution. First is the dot method. Population distribution can be shown on a map by representing each person or group of people by a dot or a symbol. These maps show where people are and gives an impression of how the number of people varies from place to place. This is simply known as the dot distribution method, and the map showing this is called a dot density map. This is a type of map that uses a dot symbol to show the presence of a feature or a phenomena. These maps rely on a virtual scatter to show spatial pattern, for example, one dot representing 10,000 people. The second method is a choropleth method. The second mapping strategy is to plot the distribution of people in terms of relationship between the numbers in area, that is people per square kilometer. This is called the choropleth method. The choropleth mapping technique uses ranges or graduated color as a type of thematic mapping that focuses usually in a single theme with data summarized by statistical or administrative areas. The name of this technique is derived from Greek words chloro meaning space and pleth meaning value. The population density expressed as per square kilometer is very appropriately represented by using a choropleth method. It provides an easy way to visualize how a measurement varies across a geographic area, or it shows the level of variability within a region. Now this diagram shows the dot distribution method to study the population distribution. This map shows number of people and how they vary from one place to another. Here the dot symbol shows a particular number of people, like here one dot is representing 1 lakh people. The next diagram is a choropleth map which uses different color schemes to show the density of population in different regions. Here 3 color schemes have been used, like white, brown, orange and yellow. The yellowish shading shows there are 1 to 25 inhabitants per square kilometer, while the orange shading shows that there are 26 to 29 inhabitants per square kilometer, and the brown colors highlight regions with population density of over 100. Next, world population distribution. The rapid growth of the world population, especially in second half of 20th century, had been accompanied by shift of population away from developed regions of the world towards developing nations of the world. During the last 2 centuries, most of the world's population lived in Asia, while relatively few lived in Latin America, North America and Oceania. The population distribution through history. Prior to 1800, Asia's population represented roughly 2/3 of the world's total. Europe and Africa fluctuated, each usually holding between 15 to 20% of the world population. The remaining people were scattered in Latin America, North America and Oceania, with Latin America having the largest number. Industrial revolution began in Europe and its share in global population increased. Asia maintained 2/3 of world population and Africa's share declined. Less than 5% resided in Americas and Oceania combined. By 1900, Asia's share of world population declined to about half, while Europe, North America and Latin America grew rapidly. In 2000, Asia's population rose again to account for 60% of the world's total. Africa's share increased to be equal to Europe's portion. It was projected that if the current trend continues, then Asia will remain at 60% of the world total in 2050. Africa's share would then rise to 20% and Europe's share will drop below Latin America, that is less than 10%. South Asia's share of world population will increase from 32% in 1980 to 34% by 2025, even though its growth rate will have declined from 2.3% in 1980 to 1.5% by 2000-2005 and 0.9% by 2020 and 2025. On the other hand, East Asia, including China, experienced largest decline of growth rate in 1970s from 2.1% in 1970-75 to 1.2% in 1980-85, largely as a result of dramatic decline in fertility that took place in China during that period. East Asia's world population is expected to decline from 26% in 1980 to 21% in 2025. The population of Africa grew from 479 million in 1980 to 872 million by 2000, and it is expected to rise to 1,617 million in 2025, when it will comprise of 20% of the world's population compared to only 9% in 1950 and 11% in 1980. Between 2010 and 2014, the world's population grew at 1.2% per annum. By 2050, it is expected that world's population will be growing by 49 million people per year, more than half of whom will be living in the least developed countries. Currently, out of 82 million people added to world population every year, 54% are in Asia and 33% are in Africa. By 2050, however, more than 80% global increase is expected to take place in Africa. Also, most of the population growth projected to occur between 2014 and 2050 will be concentrated in small number of countries. During this period, 2014 to 2050, 9 countries are expected to account for more than half of the world's projected increase in population. They are Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, India, Indonesia, Nigeria, Pakistan, and United Republic of Tanzania, USA, and Uganda. The table above has been shown which is showing the percentage distribution of world population for major areas and their projected values as per medium variant. For Africa, percentage distribution has increased in 2000 and also projected to increase in 2050. For Europe, the distribution is projected to decline, and so is the case for North America. The diagram 5 illustrates the share of world population growth by the major development areas across 3 time periods and shows the picture of how world population growth will be shared or distributed in 2050. The y-axis depicts share of world population growth in percentage and x-axis shows time periods. It can be seen that share in population growth for more developed regions is less to start with as compared to the less developed countries and is projected to decline considerably, which means that more population increases in future will occur in less developed countries. Now we talk about population distribution in the developed world. In 2005, the more developed nations had estimated population of 1.2 billion or 18.7%. This implies that a large section of population is residing in less developed nations. A lot of population is going towards urban areas. Mostly, the changes in population distribution are happening because of phenomena of migration, urbanization as well as natural increase. There has been high fertility in many developing regions and low fertility in some developed regions, which have together led to this pattern of population distribution we now see. The more developed nations accounted for around 15% share of the world population growth in 1950-1975, and this was around 7% in 1975 to 2005, and population projected to be around only 1% in 2005-2050. In 2013, more developed nations' share of world population was 17.5%. The share for Europe was 10.4% and for North America it was 5%. The share for Europe and North America is projected to decline. Another aspect of distribution is to throw some light on density of population in the more developed regions. As per the world population figures 2012, density of population for more developed regions is 24, and for North America it was 16, and for Australia it was 3. The density of population for Europe was 32 and Japan was 336. Another aspect of distribution of population of the world and major regions is the extent of urbanization. 77% of world population is urbanized as per World Population Data Sheet 2014. In Europe, this percentage was 72%. The table 3 now shows the percentage distribution for world and major areas and how it has been changing between 1980 and 2013. For more developed regions, the distribution has reduced in 2013. That is also the case for Europe and North America. The table 4 shows population distribution in urban areas in different regions. For the world, more than 50% population is urban, and for more developed, it is more than 70%. Now, what is the importance of population distribution? Population distribution has an important bearing on various aspects of development and growth. It becomes imperative to study population distribution and its changes to predict the resource needs. Also, if the planners are to successfully implement plans, they need to take care of the present and future needs of the population. Studying the population distribution is the must for population geographers. They usually look into the past distribution of people to understand as to why some areas are more densely populated and others have low population. Not only this, but population density and distribution are very important considerations for businessmen for designing their marketing strategies. This is because before implementing any of their marketing plans, they would like to know how many people are available in a given radius and how they are distributed. Politicians are also interested in this concept since they would like to know about number of voters and their spatial distributions. Now we come up to the conclusions. As of late 2006, world population reached 6.5 billion. In line with population projections, this figure continues to grow at rates that were unprecedented prior to 20th century. although the rate of increase has almost halved since growth rates reached their peak in 1963. Different regions have different rates of population growth and different population densities. The 20th century saw the biggest increase in world's population in human history. So, it is very important to understand how and where population is distributed throughout the world, since populations are not uniformly distributed on the Earth's landmass and neither are physical environments. It is also important to understand the effects of different changes in population on the world. It is useful to understand spatially where population is located presently and where it may move in the future, since the future of population of the world is difficult to predict. By understanding certain patterns and understanding which factors have the heaviest impact on population density and distribution, it is possible to predict future growth or possible decline in global population and also locate them spatially around the world. Then it will be possible to develop policies that can protect the environment, allow for sustainability of the planet, and allow the continued change of global population. That's all for today's lecture. Thank you. Next time we will discuss another novel and interesting topic. Till then, take care.